Calling all my sweeties to the forefront. I'm your host, Chris Renee Hazlett, and this is the Keep It Positive Sweetie Show. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Keep It Positive Sweetie Show. I'm your host, Chris Renee Hazlett, and today we have a powerhouse joining us. She's an entrepreneur, investor, author, and co-founder of the Fearless Fund. Kips family, let's give a warm welcome to Arian Simone. Arian, thank you so much for coming by. Literally coming by because you're right there.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know you were so close.
Yes, down home.
Yes, I love it. You have to come by more often.
Yes, I'd love to, but thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm honored to
I've
be
been
here.
wanting to talk to you. I've been so fascinated with everything you had going on. So to get the opportunity, yes, girl, you. So to get this opportunity, I'm just super grateful. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So there's been so many things that people know about you, from your story to what you've done lately with the Fearless Fund. Very dynamic woman, but I want to get to the root of who you are from the beginning. You've been very open about going from homelessness to being an entrepreneur. Tell me about that journey.
Whew. She done took me back. Okay, Crystal.
We're going to take it back and then we're going to come to
Yes.
the forefront.
It was truly a moment where, how should I put it? I was just more so out of alignment with my assignment and what I'm supposed to do in the earth.
Yes.
I was a college student at Florida A&M University, and I owned a store while I was there in the mall. And I made a promise to myself while I had the store that one day I was going to be the business investor I had been looking for. The promise, of course, looks like the Fearless Fund today, but the journey there, of course, took a lot of adventure.
Yeah.
And there was a time when I gave up on the store. Some days you'd have $50,000, some days your account is negative, and I'm like, am I good at this, or what is happening here? And I stopped. And I keep that on my computer, the financials from the store, because the business was actually profitable. I look back now and laugh, because I wasn't failing, I just wasn't patient.
Wow. Ooh.
And I just needed patience. But
What were you selling?
clothes, women's apparel.
Amazing.
Yes.
In college.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes.
I was working at a clothing store. I didn't own one.
Yes.
Wow.
It was a lot. Being a collegepreneur, it was definitely a lot.
Yeah.
And me giving up on that, I moved to Los Angeles actually with a job. The only job I've had in my adult life. Because everything else I've done, I've worked for myself.
Yeah.
And it was Nellie's Apple Bottoms, and I worked for 30 days. Yes, those apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. Yes.
What? Wow.
And I worked for that company for 30 days doing product placement, placed product on Jessica Simpson and Tyra Banks, and I even found Oprah and put the jeans on her, and she had them on the show.
Wow.
So when the president said, "Hey, Arian, I'd like to meet with you," I'm thinking like, of course. I've turned the company around. You want to meet with me?
Of course you do.
And she said, unfortunately, we have to let you go. And I was like, let me go. She said, if it was based on performance, you'd be the first to stay. I said, what is this based on?
Yeah.
She
Oh my
said, I was
goodness.
23 at the time.
Yeah.
She said, well, the company's being sold. Everybody has to go. They're having a new team come in. You just happen to be the last hired. You're the first fired. So, yes. And at that time, my parents were in an unfortunate divorce case, called back, and I never knew I would never be able to not call back home. I grew up middle class, so I was like, what do you mean? They were like, hey, finances are not good here right now. And I said, you know, don't worry about me. I'll figure out life.
Yeah.
Y'all worry about my sister. I'm gonna keep going. And ran out of cash, and then they put on the notice on the door that says pay rent or quit. I said, well, shoot, I guess I gotta quit.
Right.
I have nothing else to give you.
Wow.
And I moved from my apartment to my car. My mom's best friend paid for my storage. I was like, I'll just figure it out. Don't look sad. I'm here.
You are here.
I'm
Yes.
here. And I was without a place to stay for 7 months. Welfare, food stamps, selling my clothes so I could eat, put gas in the car, etc. But my optimism, for the most part, and my faith kept me.
Yes.
I never knew it was going to take 7 months. I get up every day talking about, oh, this the last day. This the last day.
Yeah.
This the last day. And I have a whole bunch of funny stories I tell about what happened during that time. There was a moment where I did crash. Like, I was like, this cannot be happening to me.
Yeah.
This is now, I'm probably, months in, and I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm still doing
I went
this.
to school, I
Yeah.
got good grades. What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, am I being punished? What is this? So luckily somebody called me. They sought me out to do some PR marketing work. They saw my work at Apple Bottoms. I'm like, could you have called months ago?
Right.
And it was to do some PR marketing work for their spouse, and they referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody. I looked up, I was like, okay, I got a business. And I found that so interesting because the moment that got started, it happened with such flow and ease. And I said, Arian, you were created to do business in this earth. And the moment you stepped out of that, you caused yourself more chaos and more headache than when you had the store. Like the ups and downs at the store were nothing like me having to try to figure out how I'm gonna eat the next day.
Right.
You know, I was like, you have to stay in alignment with your purpose and your calling in this earth. Because even if it has ups and downs, it's nothing like being outside of that.
Yes, exactly. So what happened after you got that call?
Oh, I ended up building a PR and marketing company from the ground up, servicing clients like from the Sony Pictures to the Walt Disneys of the world and Universal and everything else. Yeah, we worked on blockbuster movies. So Will Packer at the time was not the Will Packer. I called him when I was living out of my office space. So I went from the car to the office.
Yes. Come on now.
And I said, Will, I've started this company. This is what I do. I found out that studios actually outsource PR and marketing companies. He said, Arian, your timing couldn't have been more better.
Wow.
And I said, what's going on? He said, we are getting ready to release our first big theatrical movie, and we're going to produce it in Atlanta. And I said, what is it? And he said, Steppin'. That was the working title. It's known as Stomp the Yard.
Which was my first background work.
And that was their first big theatrical release.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Because they had the gospel before, but that was the first big one. And the movie was #1 2 weekends in a row. So my phone starts ringing with all the studios.
Well, I bet. They're like, she did this, we need
They're
her.
like, what's going on? So,
Yeah, that is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
So at that point, did you move from Los Angeles to Atlanta, or did you stay in
No,
LA?
I had to come out to Atlanta for when it was being filmed.
Yeah.
But I didn't just move to Atlanta from there, no.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's funny because Will Packer's married to my cousin now. And
Heather's your
Heather's my cousin, yeah.
Oh, Tennessee.
Yes, uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Heather Hazlett, yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Small world.
Yes,
I
that's
love
family.
Heather.
She's
Oh my
everything.
gosh, she is.
That is my girl. She's everything.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Hey,
like, wait
cuz.
a minute. Yes,
Yeah,
small world.
Very small world. But Stomp the Yard 2, the sequel, was my very first film that I worked in as an extra.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I got my start. That was before Heather, and it was years later when we found out that they were together. But yeah, small world.
Small world.
Yeah.
I worked many films with Packer, but yeah,
He's
small
incredible.
world.
Yeah, I love that. So what was the pivot to what you're doing now? How did you even get into venture capital?
Okay, so I started meeting people who were in the space. I took a meeting at Gary Vaynerchuk's office, VaynerMedia, with Gary V himself. He's a social entrepreneur person known on even, on the internet. And in the meeting, me and my friends were pitching to him a $10 million basically pitch.
Wow.
Girl, we ain't get it, but it's okay. She said, wow. And we did not know at the time he only had a $25 million fund, and the fund had been deployed. So we find this out after the pitch, which was so funny. But afterwards, I remember standing on the streets of New York just froze. And my friend, he looked at me, he said, Arian, he said, you want to be on the other side of the table. I said, I do. I said, this is how I get to make good on the promise I made to myself in college.
Come on.
And from there, having that awareness, I just started meeting other people in venture capital at different events. I started, let me tell you, this Fearless Fund, what people know today, it was words.
Wow.
I was like, I'm building a fund. I'm building this fund, it's for women of color. I was going around telling everybody, girl, there wasn't a cent in the bank yet.
Right.
I opened a bank account at Citizens Trust. This is a true story. I went there, met with the manager, and I said, I'm building this multi-million-dollar fund. And I told her all about it. I said, I'm gonna open it up with this $100. I said,
Listen.
I know. I said, I know.
I'm not mad at it.
This person may have thought I was crazy. They're one of my biggest advocates now, but I'm like, I said, I wonder what Tanya was thinking. Like, she's probably like, this girl's nuts. But I got $100.
I'll take it, right. We're going to set this account up.
I mean, she saw a year later, the millions coming in. She said, this girl really did what she said she was going to do.
That is incredible. So how did you go about it? Like you said, it just started with words. What were you telling people to make, because I want entrepreneurs to hear
telling
this.
people where's mine?
Right here, baby.
I was telling people my vision, and they were buying into the vision. And I ran into somebody named Rodney Sampson, known in Atlanta in like the tech space, Tracy Gray. These people ended up being on our advisory board, but I just started telling people my vision. And they were like, okay, it's a little far-fetched, but if you believe and you sound like you believe, we'll rock with you.
Wow. Now, what were some of the hurdles as you're building this?
Oh, God.
I want to get into that because people see where you are now and it's like,
well, it's capital intensive.
Yes.
That's first and foremost. You need securities attorneys to even set it up. And you're talking about a setup fee that's probably 6 figures. Yeah, a setup fee. You could I figured out how to cut every corner, trust me. I was like, okay, can we figure out how to set this thing for like 15?
Right.
I was like, let me step this thing.
Yeah.
But as I was selling the vision, I started to raise money and started to raise it from individuals at first. And then from there, I was at a FAMU homecoming and ran into somebody, and I sold the vision again, and they were like, hey, we'll have our company come down and meet with you. And they were our first institutional investor. So it was Lisk. And then after Lisk was like Fifth Third and I think Costco, but the names were there.
Yeah.
And when the wake of George Floyd hit and a lot of the commitments to the Black community took place, we were literally the right people in the right place at the right time doing the right thing.
Yes.
So now inbound is happening. So, but mind you, I spent 3 years of grinding, 2 years plus of no salary, just trying to figure it out to get there. So yeah, it was a lot of years of still selling the vision.
Yes, and can you explain for people who don't know exactly the mission of the Fearless Fund?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
The Fearless Fund is the nation's first, or even the world's first, venture capital fund that's built by women of color for women of color.
Yes.
We invest in women of color co-founded companies, and the reason why is because women of color are the fastest growing entrepreneur demographic, but unfortunately the least funded. You're talking only 0.39% of venture capital funds are going to women of color in the U.S., while it's over 20% of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
So the stats are ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's why we do what we do.
Yes, and then you guys hit a huge roadblock with the lawsuit.
That's an understatement.
Huge roadblock. It's like, what is happening? In that moment, when it's all happening, what is Arian Simone thinking?
Well, when everything hit, if we have time, I'm going to walk you through the day.
Yes.
So on August 2nd, 2023, the staff starts reaching out saying, the reporters are calling us about a lawsuit we have. I said, well, I have no lawsuit. Like, I was just calm. I said, you know what, just don't answer the phones. Keep going on with your day. And they kept calling. I said, y'all, this is ChatGPT. They have us mixed up with somebody.
Clearly.
Like, I'm up here blaming it on ChatGPT, literally.
Wow.
And I was like, I said, it'll fix itself because we don't have a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Then they were like, Arian, we are getting calls by the Wall Street Journal and Reuters and very credible media outlets. And we're all over the news right now. And I was just like, if there's a filing, can you find it? Because lawsuits are public.
Absolutely.
I said, they got to file it. And 45 minutes, I got a call. They had found the filing.
Now, is that something your lawyer should have caught, like, when it happened, or you just
Technically,
never know?
no.
Okay.
So since COVID, you don't have to serve people in person. You can serve them through email.
Wow.
Which I had not opened the email where they were sending emails at all. And even then, I still didn't open it. I found out much later. I was just like, oh, I was being served through the internet? I was like, who does this?
Right. You're like, okay.
But then I knew, because I hadn't accepted being served, that they were aggressively, of course, also looking for me. Yes.
That's scary.
It very. But I use my rights.
I use my
Yes, I'm
rights.
well equipped. I use my rights.
Wow.
So that day they found the filing, and I saw the top of the filing, and it said United States District, and that's when I said, oh my gosh, we have a federal case. So I text Ben Crump, emergency. I'm hitting up everybody. I'm hitting up Derek Johnson, the head of the NAACP. I'm like, y'all gotta help. Something's going on.
Yes.
I was like, I don't even know what happened. And I said, who is this? And they were like, Ed Bloom. And I was like, I know that name. They were like, the guy who stopped affirmative action. I said, at the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh
So
my
I was
goodness.
thrust into this just overnight. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So it was very abrupt. They filed 3 things against our company, a temporary restraining order. I thought those were for like crazy ex-boyfriends or
Right.
ex-girlfriends. No, you can file a TRO on somebody's business and put them out of business. Yes, they wanted us shutting down operations by August 17th. And I said, what? They were like, do y'all have an event coming up? The attorneys asked. I said, yeah. I said, it's the 18th. They said, that's it.
Why.
I said, oh my gosh. I said, why am I disturbing these people?
Right.
This is literally, that's when you know it's the spirit of fear.
Yes.
This is literally $1 trillion financial disparity as far as funding to people of color.
Yeah.
You're worried about, in the big scheme of things, I am so proud of what we've done, but you're worried about a couple $100 million.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be kidding me. This is $1 trillion issue. We're not even making a dent in this statistic.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm that much of a threat that you want to shut this down? But prior to the Fearless Fund, the average fundraise for a black woman was only $30,000. Oh yeah, we came on the scene
30,000?
cutting 7-figure checks. So it was very disruptive, but very needed.
Yes. Yes. So this is mind blowing. All this is happening, and then so you have to cut off everything. The
Yeah,
women.
so if anybody doesn't know, the court case was for alleged discrimination. They said we were being discriminatory because we were investing in black and brown women and not white businesses.
You are kidding me.
And they said we were violating, they claimed we were violating a civil rights law. I thought that was still part of the hoax.
Hello.
I said,
You
I
like-
did.
you're like,
I
what?
said civil rights. I was like, civil rights were put in place for black people.
For this
what
very
you talking
reason,
about?
yeah.
I said, oh, this is gonna get dismissed. They have this wrong.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And now with DEI being cut everywhere,
We tried to warn everybody.
did you?
Yes, I
So you
kept
saw it
doing
coming.
posts like, yes, because we were the first DEI case. I said, sound the alarm. I said, we are inaugural defendants in one of the most defining lawsuits of our time.
Wow.
Please let people know this is real and this is happening.
Oh my goodness. So what happened with all the black women that you were helping with their businesses?
Oh, no, they still got their money.
Oh, I know that's right. She's like,
And during the court case, I was still deploying. I was still cutting checks left and right. I said, hey,
we're gonna keep this thing moving.
yes, I was still
until-
cutting checks.
Wow. So where is the Fearless Fund? Where
We
do you all
still
stand
cutting
right
checks now too. Well, the lawsuit is permanently dismissed, praise God.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes, permanently
Good.
dismissed. What was that, September 2024. So it was
Amazing.
13 months, yes, of a federal court case. So just mind you, people hear and they see what went on in the media.
Yeah.
I said, people have no clue.
Yeah.
That fall was one of the hardest seasons of my life.
Yeah.
That makes living out the car like a piece of cake.
Listen, I can't imagine, but I can
One of the
imagine.
hardest seasons of my life. Oh, I had people coming from me, honey, that looked just like me and you. It was a mess.
Oh my goodness.
It was a mess.
I can imagine. What in those moments, I know you speak very openly about your faith. How did you lean in on those moments? Because I know a lot of times you're like, Lord, okay, now, I know I'm strong, but.
Well, I knew the moment it hit when I realized we had something real.
Yeah.
I was like, God, your hand is on this.
Oh.
I was like, I grew up around Rosa Parks. I grew up around Coretta Scott King. I grew up around Betty Shabazz. I said, your hand is on
You
this.
grew up around all those?
Yes.
What?
Civil rights icons and just women in the movement. I said, this is not by
gotta talk about
happenstance.
that too. That's crazy.
I think it's crazy too, because now I sit back, I'm like, I would have asked y'all so many more questions.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when you
Had I
knew
known this.
Yes, yeah.
And I was a kid. I will go back. Well,
Yeah.
give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, do you think? Yes. No, I'm enjoying.
So there
this
was
is
one
amazing.
moment when I remember being about 14, and my mom was like, I always travel with my parents, but they were like, you know what? We're going down ahead. You and Ashley had come down after us.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. They were like, you're coming to Alabama. And I freaked out. I said, I don't go to Alabama. Now, at this point, I'm well-traveled. I've traveled countries, states, all of it.
Not going
But
there.
I said, Mrs. Parks has told me about the Klan and all these crazy people. I said, I don't want to see him. I said, Mom, do you have a gun down there? Like, what is going on? Like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to go for anything. She said, Arian, Coretta Scott King, Juanita Abernathy, and Rosa Parks are waiting on you. And I told her I could see those old women anytime. Lord, forgive me. But I was young, and I had no appreciation of it at the time because this was just my life. She was like a grandmother to me. I'm checking on her after school, bringing groceries, stuff like that. So this is not even like, oh my gosh, it's my norm.
Yes, wow.
And she was like, Arian Simone Reed, you will get your behind on that plane. So I got my behind on that plane.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I think I was like 14.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 14.
Oh my goodness.
So it was an anniversary for one of the Montgomery bus boycotts. But yeah, I pulled on that. So yeah, my faith is strong. When it happened, I knew God's hand was on it. And I was just like, I knew my steps had been ordered. I knew I was covered. I said, okay, Lord, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I said, any tongue that rises up against me, I shall condemn. I said, okay, I'm going to stand on your word.
Yes.
I said, I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. Watch over it to make sure it is performed. I said, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So yes, my faith got me through because I had no clue that through something like that, that even other people would try to attack you because they think you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
That's, oh my
But we had a
goodness.
lot of support. So we're going to keep it positive, sweetie.
Always. Always.
We had a lot of support through the process, and I'm so grateful.
Now, have you seen those people that came after you since then? and they see that it didn't work and no weapon formed against you shall prosper?
He lays the table.
In the presence of my enemies.
Yes.
Yes. And they
So
watching you
yes.
feast. Come
Yes.
on. I know that's right. Ooh, oh my gosh. So let's go back to Rosa Parks,
Yeah.
Coretta Scott King. What?
Yeah.
This is crazy. Like, it's funny. I was on the phone yesterday with a friend, and he was like, "You guys are looking like Rosa Parks." And I looked in the camera, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can see it," because I didn't have no
your
makeup on. I
favorite.
had my glasses on, and my hair was like, it wasn't like slicked back. It was kind of like out.
No,
like,
y'all favorite.
I was like, "Come on, biopic Rosa, come on." It's funny you said that. And then the moments as you're a child, not realizing the giants
preparation
that you're like around, and
Yes.
the preparation to do what you're doing now. God
Yes.
makes no mistakes. It was already written. Oh my gosh. So where you are now, you're still writing checks. The Fearless Fund is still thriving.
Yes.
What are the initiatives that you're going after now that you're over that hurdle?
Before we got sued, my staff even has me on video talking about this. I didn't even notice it was coming around the corner. I told them at our retreat, I said, you all, when we finish raising Fund 2, I said, I'm gonna actually take a step back and get into more advocacy work.
Wow.
I said, I have to stand up for this kind of work that we're doing. I said, because we don't need the Fearless Fund, we need fearless funds. I said, we need more people having the opportunity to do what it is that I do. I said, so I'm gonna get into some more advocacy work. I said, and we're gonna have to make sure that people are aware of what this racial disparity is and how do we actually fix it. So I had no clue that this would turn into the way it has and giving me a platform to have a voice to speak about it more.
Yeah.
So.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Are you, do you do like mentorship programs for young entrepreneurs that are trying to start their own business?
Not necessarily try to start their own business, but the second they have, and we have a program called Get Venture Ready.
Okay.
So
okay.
people who have started their business and they're looking to get venture dollars, we have programs for them.
Okay.
So they can learn about their options. And venture capital is not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's very aggressive and it's very fast. Venture capital, to those of you all who are listening, looks like Shark Tank. So people say, hey,
Yeah.
can you give me $500,000? I'll give you 10% ownership of my business. And that's exactly what it looks like, just like Shark Tank. Now, that's some semi-aggressive because we're looking for you to exit in 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Whereas we also have a loan program. We have a $200 million loan program, and people can apply for $5,000 up to $250,000 if you just have $50,000 in revenue.
Okay.
Credit score 600. So that's the criteria for that program.
Okay.
And then at our foundation, we have grants. So we have multiple financing options depending on where you're at and what it is you desire to get done.
So say I was an entrepreneur.
You are. Here we go.
And I was coming to you to present my business, looking for funding. What are you looking for?
That's good.
Because I know people are like, well, what do I need to be prepared for when I go ask for this money and this capital?
Well,
What are you
there's
looking for?
4 indicators, especially on the venture side. We
Okay.
do look for a good brand story because you got to be able to sell it. Like how I
Yes.
sold the vision and now we're here with the
Yeah,
fund. You got to be able to
come
sell it. You need to have a strong team because that's nice. Once you sell that story, it's like, okay, are you all equipped to actually go execute on what you're selling to us?
Right.
You want to have a good product. And you want to have traction. So traction can look like anything. So we invest in CPG, which is a consumer packaged good, any type of product.
Okay.
We also invest in technology. But with that being said, technology is very capital intensive. So
It is.
people may not have the revenue to say it's
Right.
traction. They may have, oh, my email list has 50,000 people on this wait list. That's traction.
Got it.
I've had this many downloads, that's traction. I've got this many social media followers, that's traction. We know you have people who are interested in what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So let's backtrack to the person who's just got an idea. Before they can even get to you, what are some things that they can do to build that social media presence, to build the traction, to get the emails and all
You'd
those
be
things?
surprised. Ideas get funded every day.
Wow.
Those are our 4 indicators we look at, but ideas do get funded every day.
Wow. Okay. It's good to know. So you guys, listen, you need to hit Arian up or hit the Fearless Fund up. So how would you define success when it comes to being an entrepreneur? Because so many people feel like, well, I'm not where Arian is, or I'm not where Crystal is, or I'm not here, but where would you define success so people can understand there's different levels and you don't have to be
Oh,
here or here?
completely.
Yeah.
But it's whatever your field of, I would say, like, field of influence is. I define it as, just impact. If you've changed one person's life, just by your presence and by what it is that you're doing, that's impactful.
No, for sure. Yeah.
That is impactful.
Has your idea of success evolved over the years?
Has it evolved? It probably has.
'Cause I know for me, like, I remember where I was, say, 10
In your
years
20s
ago.
and success was like
That-
a dollar amount?
Yeah, that was success. And then where I am now, I'm like, that was nowhere near what I thought success was. And then still today, I'm like, I still have so much further to go,
That is true. I've always looked at it like, of course, I'm always growing, always evolving, always achieving.
Always, yes.
But I still think every level was successful.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I get what what you're saying, like, oh, no, I feel like I haven't made it. I'm doing this, doing that. But you're successful.
Yes,
You've been successful.
yes.
Maybe because I just operate from like a pure place of gratitude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so. That was where I would say where it has evolved.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said it was successful all those times, but now I look back and say all of that was success.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. What actually inspired you to even create the Fearless Fund? Was it just seeing?
That promise I made to myself in college.
You're like, I gotta
I
do
had
it.
the experience of going to pitch as a college student.
What was your major? in
I was a
college?
business major.
Okay.
But I majored in business in high school. Like I went to a high
wow.
school that had majors too.
Okay.
So going through that process and seeing investors do not look like you. Going through that process and I'm talking about I'm suited and booted even as a college kid and I'm giving them my best at that time business plan. This is before
Yeah.
decks, quote unquote, were around. And I was like, this is not working.
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, there's got to be somebody who can understand my story. There's got to
Right.
be somebody who's going to believe in me. And I sat there on that floor amongst the inventory and I said, Aaron, don't you worry about it. Because one day you're going to be the business investor you were looking for.
Yes, I love that. Can you share a success story of a business or entrepreneur that you guys have sown into and invested in?
Oh, honey, plenty.
Please share, because I'm excited to hear about.
You said plenty?
Yes.
I mean, we're investors. You know these companies, Partake, The Lip Bar, Slutty Vegan.
What?
I mean, oh yeah.
I had no idea.
We got the hit list, okay? We got the hot roster.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, we got all the success stories. Yes.
Oh, that is amazing.
Ooh.
So how did Pinky come in?
I don't think she came in. I was probably slutified, whatever they call it.
You had taken a bite of the burger.
customer. Oh yes. And then I heard through her manager at the time that they were having a round of funding. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, you gonna cut me in?
I know that's right.
And he was like, I got you. I was
Yeah.
like, cool.
I
So
love
that's how that happened.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Marissa, the lip bar. I just saw her.
She actually
Yeah.
came to us, but I was there probably maybe, I don't know if it's week 1, 2, or 3. I pledged Melissa. We have the
sorority?
same, yep, we are deltas.
Wow.
We have the same high school in common. We are both from the same side of town in Detroit, and then we both went to FAMU.
Oh, so y'all.
So
known
I
each
was
other
not in
for-
her diligence process because I said, y'all have to keep me honest.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was there week 1 when she was in her studio apartment in New York making
yes.
vegan lipstick from the stove. So I was like, I got to step aside on this one.
You're like, I've been there.
No, there was
from the
times we didn't think the deal was happening. She was like, Spesh, I don't think it's happening. I said, I don't know. They ain't giving me a good report right now. So it went on for like a couple months, back and forth, legal diligence papers.
Yeah.
And then she called. She said, it's going to happen.
And look at her
I
now.
cried. I had never cried when we had invested. But I said, this is somebody I saw day one.
Yes, that's
built this
beautiful.
business. I said, I'm honored to cut this check.
Oh, see, I love hearing stories like that. And that was another thing that guy, he designed that. It was written since y'all were kids.
Like what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. How can people, if they want to get involved, if they have the money and they want to just even donate to the fund, how can they do that?
Donations to the foundation are at thefearless.foundation. Any information for the fund is fearless.fund, F-U-N-D. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I'm sure people listening are going to want to get behind this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, especially with everything that's going on with DEI and our funds being
Oh my
cut
gosh.
everywhere you turn. How do you feel about the boycotts on different companies?
Woo, girl, don't get me started. I'm not on social as much lately.
Yeah.
But when I have had to say a few things here and there, I have a lot of feelings. I have told even the black and brown brands at Target, I said, if you can walk off the shelf the same way they can cancel you, you can cancel them.
Wow.
I said, and you all probably need to walk in your power. I said, if I were you, I'd send a collective letter expressing your concerns that when I entered into an agreement with your company, that these were your value systems.
Yes.
This is where things lined up. This is why I chose to be in partnership with you.
Right.
I said, not have everybody sign it. And I said, because you have now changed your values and I've entered into this business agreement with you, my products are now being part of a boycott that I wouldn't have wanted. So I may have to sue you for financial damages unless you want to change your values.
Wow. I need you to look.
So-
We're gonna call Aaron. When we got to saying, how do I need to write this email?
Oh,
Wow.
their board of directors would have heard from me had I been in that position. Their board of directors and their C-suite.
You are sharp.
And I would have had a meeting.
Yeah. I know that.
And I would have had a check too.
Yeah, because I'm good friends with Tabitha Brown, love her, and even Monique Rodriguez. Their brands are both on Target shelves.
These are all my
Marissa,
girlfriends.
everybody. And I've seen them get on Instagram and say, hey guys, if you're boycotting, you're boycotting us. So if you're gonna go, only shop black brands. But when I think about it, and I feel like if you just bring it and make your own website and sell it yourself and get a drop
I
shipping,
said, y'all can all walk out the door and go start Target.
Baby, listen.
All walk out the door.
All of them. And
I
make
said,
way
because
more money.
collectively, I said, you all make them millions. Millions of money. I said, stand in your voice.
Yes,
Stand in your voice.
exactly. Oh.
So yeah, Target would have had a new announcement by the time I had got done with them. We would have saw a whole new press conference.
I already know. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I see a lot of people doing the boycotts and pastors, everyone's getting behind it. And I think it's very important to let our voices be heard and show the power of our dollar as a black community. Yeah.
Because even speaking of Rosa Parks, the Montgomery bus boycott did not just end due to morality, it ended due to economics. They bled them out. So they were like, oh, we're gonna have to start this and fix some things.
Yeah.
So yeah, you exercise, you advocate with your dollars.
Yeah.
And I tell that to people all the time. So if somebody does donate from watching this, thank you all so much because you advocate with your dollars.
Exactly, they do. How do you balance being a leader, a businesswoman, and an entrepreneur Like you do a lot of things, and now you're in your advocacy bag, and you're all over. I can't imagine how you even keep up with the day with everything you have going on. How do you balance it all?
Well, I'm grateful for a great team.
Yeah,
I'm
you are
like
strong
you
as a
too.
team. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, we may be small, but we're mighty and
Yes.
lean. Okay.
Yes.
We are mighty. So I've been blessed with great people, great advisors, great team members. I have to really give it to them.
Yeah.
They keep my life in order so I can move and flow in ease.
Yeah, because I always see you around. I'm like, you always supporting everyone.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
no, every time I see you, like we saw each other at Sarah Jakes Roberts' book signing last year.
Yes.
And I saw you at Will's book signing the other day.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're always supporting everybody else.
It's my joy.
I love that.
I love seeing people succeed, and
Yeah.
I love seeing dreams fulfilled.
Yeah.
I love seeing people walk in their purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, this earth is fun.
I love that. What roles has networking played in building everything you've built today? Because I'm not the best networker. I tell Sean all the time, like, I need you to come with me because I will sit in the corner and not talk to people. But it seems like you have
Well,
the
somehow
gift.
you have figured it out, though.
You know, even last night I went somewhere and somebody else had to like take me to meet the people because I'm not gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Crystal. How are you doing?"
I think people know who you are, though.
Yeah.
I said somehow it has still worked out, but I get what you're saying. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, if you're not like aggressively extrovert, if you're not that,
Yeah.
I think you may have answered your own question because you're like, okay, I'm gonna bring an advocate with me.
There's somebody that can say, "This
Yes.
is Crystal," right? Yeah, that's true. Because I do have an issue with that. A friend of mine said, "You network?" I'm like, "No, I'm not the best networker." Like, and I'm
And I
really
think
big on
'cause
energy.
yes, the word itself doesn't sound organic.
Yeah. And I think that's my problem. I don't want to.
Yes, you don't want forced relationships.
No, I don't.
So I wouldn't even approach it from a networking standpoint because I'm big on energy too.
Yeah.
If I rock with you, I rock with you, and if I don't, I don't, and I'm really
Period.
okay with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would just say I'm coming to make whatever genuine connections
Yeah, I love that.
are in the space that are there for me.
I love that. What is next for you?
Oh gosh.
Because I know it's something. I know you got something up your sleeve.
I mean, if we're talking business, I would
Yeah.
say I could sense a book.
I did. I said literally when I was like, "When you writing a book?" and you were like, "So we need a book, Arian. We need a book." Especially you talking about Rosa Parks, and that was like your grandma.
Well, the
I'm like,
book is, it's in the book because the book is about picking up the mantle from where our civil rights icons left off and preparing a prosperous future for this generation.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Do you have a title yet? Can the kids' family get a little sneak peek?
It's
She's like, not yet.
it's well, I don't mind sharing it because I know even my agency is making an announcement, but it's
Okay.
called Freedom to be Fearless.
Amazing. Well, I have it's not really announced as a book club, but I do one book a month, so I'll make sure I share that.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, and we'll read it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
That
A
is
goal
so
of mine
sweet.
this year was to read more, because I just remember as a kid I would read all the time. I would stay in my room and just going through the pages, and I'm like, I do not sit down and read anymore. So this year I started that, and every month I do a book.
Did that help you just dream big?
It did. It did, and especially being from a small,
Small town.
Like my escape
All the small
was through
town
that.
success stories out of magazines and the books, I hear.
I literally was, when we were in LA for Essence last week, I just said that I was like, I was talking to one of the marketing execs at Essence, and I said, Essence magazine was on my coffee table, and it was also in our bathrooms. Because back in the day, we would have these little baskets with magazines in it when you go to the bathroom, and it was Essence and Jet and Ebony. Those are the magazines in there. So that was where I found my style inspiration. That's where I knew what was going on in Black culture, because where I'm from, it's predominantly white. So I didn't have that exposure. Like, all my friends were white. Like, I was the Black kid sitting at the table with all the white kids. So I didn't have that exposure to our culture except for through BET, MTV, and the magazines. You're absolutely right. And it showed me a whole new world. And it got my mind. I said, as soon as I can get out of here, I'm getting out of here. And I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. You pour into everyone. How do you pour into yourself?
Oh, I do.
She said, oh, I do have.
I do often. I'm even about to take off on a whole wellness trip.
Good.
Wellness resorts. I'm talking resorts that make you sign a contract that you can't get on the phone.
Oh, I need to do that.
Oh, yes.
We should do that, Ashawn. I think we should.
Oh, yes.
Literally. I love that.
Oh, I do. And Ashana knows. She got done with one of her events. I sent her a gift card to Four Seasons Spa. I was like, girl, go enjoy yourself. I said, go enjoy yourself. I'm very big on being restorative.
Yes.
Because I know if I'm going to do all that, I have to pour into me.
Yes.
So I'm very big on loving myself. I get up in the morning, I pray, I have a scripture, I meditate, I have affirmations I say religiously. You know, I am intentional about loving on me.
I love that.
Yes.
And I'm proud of you for that because I feel as Black women, we pour, and then we're left empty.
Oh, no, you will run dry.
Literally run dry.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's amazing that you're intentional in that space. And before we get out, I wanted to ask you one last thing.
Okay.
You're a queen.
I am the queen of Dawa in Cote d'Ivoire.
You are the queen of Dawa.
Yes, in Cote d'Ivoire.
Where's that?
The Ivory Coast. It's right next door to Ghana.
Really?
So you can fly direct to Accra, and then you can just hop on over to Abidjan.
Wow. So how did that happen?
That's why I said I knew I was going to need some time if we was going to discuss this, but I'm going to give it to you.
Give it to me.
So I have always had an affinity for the continent. And when you're talking about just ordered steps and divinity, I never saw this coming. I would always go over there in big ball gowns and big head wraps and just enjoy the fact that we come from kings and queens. And I would just savor in it. And I remember one day I got this call from one of our team members, and they said, Arian, because I was building a school in Cote d'Ivoire.
Wow.
And they said, when you land, a stylist is going to meet you. And I was like, nah, I said, I'm wearing my hair naturally curly. I just want to feel like, you know, I'm in the earth, Mother Earth. I'm just wearing my hair naturally curly. And she was like, well, no, it's for your outfit. And I was like, oh, no, I'm when I get to the school, I'm putting on jeans and, you know, the polo top for the school.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, my gosh. She said, you don't know. I said, what? She said, Arian, they're crowning you queen. And I kind of laughed and got off the phone. I was like, oh, how cute. I didn't take it as for real. I took it as like this is an honor or an award or something like that.
Oh my
It wasn't until I got this long email that came through about the queen's ceremony and her coronation, and then the queen addresses her people. I'm reading this email. I said, the queen
Her people?
addresses her
My
people.
court?
I was like, wait a minute, this is me?
Addresses her people.
I was like, and then it said in there that the chief had prayed to God. I have Christian territory. The chief had prayed to God and said, this is her. And I was just like, what? Now, this will even spook you out much later. I get ready to board this flight. And you know on the iPhone, they have like these news stories that pop up for the day? The news story said 5 royal tribes that were captured in the slave trade. I was so freaked out, I didn't even read that article at the time. I went back and read it much later. Then a year about later at one of our family reunions, now mind you, I've done my DNA. I never focused on the West as much as I did the East. I was always so surprised how heavy East I was, considering most people in, yes, African Americans are very heavy West due to the transatlantic slave trade. So the fact that I was like 35% East African, Ethiopian, Eritrean, and all the stuff over there, I was like, this is interesting. I never even looked at the other side. So I'm at a family reunion, and my family's like, lineage, we go back 8 generations, and we're very heavy into our family history. And they're doing a DNA test and all that. And I'm like, Arian, you know we got Ivorian blood. And I look and I said, oh my gosh, like even if you see, we have a family genealogist, and you can see it going up and up and up and up. And I was like, oh, this is freaking me out. I was like,
oh my goodness.
What is this? I know. Exactly, but it was definitely, it's truly an honor, but it's not just a title, it's actually a responsibility. These people are looking to you for leadership. They are looking to you for vision. As queen, you work with the government to help improve the welfare of the people. So it's real.
Wow.
And especially in African traditions, we have so many thrones. Like there's only, I think, 12 monarchs that are still in power in the whole world now. But for Africans, prior to colonialism, you know, these were tribal lands.
Yes.
This is being land that's governed by kings and queens, you know, and still it's respected today over there.
Yeah.
So I land and paparazzi's everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
I got on like a poncho, some sweats. I'm like, okay. Get to the hotel. They're like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I told somebody I was going to have a spa day. I told you I'll pour into me. They said, no. They said the head rep lady will be to you at 6:30 and makeup is coming at 6. I said, huh? They said you'd be on national news at 8 a.m.
Oh my God. You're like, wait, what?
Exactly. I was like, what? I said, you know what? You're going to surrender. I said, just go with it.
Yeah.
I said, just go with it. I get out there. Luckily on that trip, actually, my first lady was with me, Pastor Danielle Murphy, and she actually gave the sermon in my ceremony.
Oh, wow.
And somebody translated it in French for the audience. And before I gave my address, and there was so many blooper moments. Like, oh, Christina Murray was there at that trip. Like,
oh, was she?
Oh, gosh, she was standing up at times, and the governor was like, tell her to sit down. She's at the dais. I said, Christina, we're supposed to be seated right now.
Oh, Lord.
So it's all these different bloopers. The girl greets me with these flowers. I curtsy right with her. They said, somebody tell the queen to stand up.
You don't oh, you do not bow.
So it was so funny. But I love the people.
Did you have to like take like a crash course on how to be a
The
queen?
moment I realized that letter was real, they were like, you have government protocol tomorrow morning, because you need to know, of course, how to address people. I'm even still learning on the job to this day.
Yeah.
I went to go visit one of my girlfriends over there for her brunch, and she's like, well, Arian, of course, you know, do your title, you're at the head table. And I was just like, oh, okay. I'm thinking like, I was just sitting at the head table. I don't know that every time somebody speaks, I have to stand up and I have to greet them.
Wow.
So I'm always still like learning on the job, because French culture is very big on protocol.
Yeah.
Francophone countries and Anglophone countries are a little bit different. Like when I go to Ghana, I'm like all relaxed, just chilling. I'm over in Cote d'Ivoire. It's like, okay, I already know I have to be on.
Right.
But yes, it's my honor to serve those people.
Yes. That is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, we are in the presence of a queen. That's so crazy. I was wondering, I was like, how did that happen? So how often do you have to go?
Technically I go, seems like I'm in Africa so often, but I am there in Zawa at least once a year.
Okay.
I am on the continent sometimes every other month.
Wow.
We actually even at the fund and the foundation, so 80% of our funds are domestic, 20% are international.
Wow.
So I allocate grants through there. We have investments on the continent.
Yeah.
So yes, it's wonderful.
I love that. I do have a question. There's a big misconception that Africa is not a place that you want to move to. But I hear so many Americans going back to Africa, Ghana specifically.
Ghana has done a good job.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? And is that something that you feel people should look into?
Oh, yeah. I even have Ghanaian citizenship.
Wow.
So Ghana has done a great job with just marketing the year of the return. And I would say this, because they're like, Arian, what did you think when you got here? And I was honest with them.
What did
I said,
you
you all oversold this place. And I've been back and forth to Ghana so many times since then. I said, only because I'm somebody who's traveled the continent.
Yeah.
I said, I've been north, south, east, west. I said, so I know what Africa has to offer. I said, you all get so much tourism here. I said, I did expect your infrastructure to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
I said, you go next door to Cote d'Ivoire, and they said, we already know it's gorgeous. So like Abidjan is called Paris of the West. Like, I mean, it's Abidjan, I mean, the beaches, Ivory Coast is known for their white sand beaches, all of it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I will say this, I think that any Black person should have that experience of being on your own land.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. I think that they should know the culture, the history. It's part of who we are.
Yes.
So I do encourage that. I encourage even if you want two places, you know, it may be inexpensive to have a summer home out on the continent and then come back, you know. So I definitely encourage it. Okay. And like I said, Ghana has done a good job of making it easy for people.
Right. What about safety? Because I went to Johannesburg with Tyler for the Global Citizens Festival, and they were telling us don't have earpods in your ears, don't be on your phone in the car.
Don't stop at the red lights after when it gets dark.
Yes,
I've been
like-
to Johannesburg a few times.
Yeah, is it like that? And I didn't know if all Africa was like that. And you have other parts where it's war and
No,
like slaughtering
one
each
I will say
other.
this: it's 54 countries,
Yeah,
so no,
right.
it's definitely not all like that. Africa has everything that you will find in the world. You're going to find paradise, you're going to find third world, and you're going to find city, high skyscrapers, all of it, like you saw in Joburg.
Yeah.
So you're going to see everything.
You did literally see everything because
yeah.
you drive like 30 minutes like to Soweto where
Yep, Nelson Mandela
lives, and then it's like you're passing huts in like
Correct. You're going to
10
see
houses.
all
Yeah.
of it.
Wow.
But the level of beauty
Oh my
is
gosh.
unmatched.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to see all of it. And those of us who can, and we can come and do things to help make it better, the investment opportunity is huge. I sit on the board of Steve Madden. Our #1 store right now is our South African store.
Are you serious?
Yes, we've expanded to the continent.
And Steve Madden has some cute clothes now. I didn't know that. Did
Yes.
they just start making clothes?
We did.
There's stuff, it's on Revolve. I see it all the time. I'm
Yes.
Like, this is cute. I'm like, Steve Madden. Yeah, y'all have some really, keep it up. Have some really cute pieces.
I love serving on the board.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I do, but Africa has so much to offer.
Yeah.
Investments, opportunities. I even know people in your field.
I have a friend, she's been very open. Gail Bean has a house in Accra.
Yes, Accra.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, there are people who couldn't get through the door here, but got through the door there. I'm talking folks, you wouldn't know who they were. Now they got millions of followers. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Because of the opportunities on the continent.
And I love the TV and film industry there. Like that has some of my
It's
favorite shows
everything.
are in Africa.
You a blood and water watcher?
Oh my goodness.
Poulang.
I sat
Yes,
next to,
I met Poulang.
The other sister, I sat next to her.
Oh, I love
at Essence
it.
last year. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, I was like, you the
Yes.
Blood and Water. I just watched it. She's like, yes.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, and the production quality is fantastic.
Oh, it's second to
the
none.
acting is incredible. Yeah.
Now, South Africa is 18-1. I have a girlfriend there. Yes, she runs actually an agency, a talent agency.
Yeah.
Used to work at Interscope. Now that she's there, her and her husband and her kids, she said, Arian, had I known I could get stuff at this level for this price, she said, I'd had 3 more kids.
Wow.
She said, I'm just past childbearing age. She said, but I would have had 3 more kids because she's like, my house staff, you know, is very inexpensive. They have so much help. Oh yeah, I walked in the door, they pulled out champagne, everything. I'm at this gorgeous house of hers and I said, girl, what does this cost?
Yeah.
She said about 500,000. She said, but you know this over there.
Oh my goodness.
In America would have been millions.
Millions, yes. Wow.
So 18 to 1
all right, y'all, we
there.
going to Africa.
But now that's not true for every place. Where I am queen, I will say this, it's not a steal. It's a smidget
More expensive.
less. No,
Yeah.
a smidget less, but
Okay.
it's you don't see it. So it's not like you're
Gotcha.
gonna get that feeling of, oh no, 500,000 is 500,000.
Right. Got it.
Yes.
Wow. I love that. Arian, I really enjoyed this conversation.
I have too. I feel like
Yes.
we're just sitting in your house,
Yes.
just having us a good time in our pajamas.
Right.
Yes.
We'll have to do that again. In our
Yes.
pajamas and really have a good time.
Yes.
Before we go, I want to play a game of this or that.
Okay.
You ready? All right. Let's see. We got angel versus seed investment.
You said angel,
Angel investment or seed investment?
and I pick one.
One or the other, yeah.
Okay, what's the outcome?
She is such a businesswoman. She's like, no, what's...
Just pick one.
You just pick one.
Seed investment.
Okay. Success versus failure. Now
Is it success versus failure?
and this could be have a caveat to it.
I know, because people will pick failure because they actually get to learn from it.
That's what I was thinking. She's like, I don't want to fail.
It's not a bad thing, though. So it's like,
not.
yikes.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for success. Keep going.
Okay, let's do it. Cash versus crypto.
Oh, cash. I'm old school. I'm like, cash
Me
is
too.
king.
I don't
I'm
believe-
real old school.
I have not gotten into. I don't trust it.
No, I did do crypto, and I made a lot of cash.
Okay. Really?
But
What
yeah,
top?
I took most out. I was in it very early on.
Early on, yes. I don't know. It was something about it, I just really couldn't get into it. And I guess because I'm very old, I want my
Oh
cash.
yeah, but it's cash if I got to choose.
I know that's
Yes.
right. Okay. Investing versus saving.
I already know I'm investing.
Period.
I don't have the discipline to save. I have the discipline to invest. Don't get me wrong, I have a savings.
Yeah.
But I am so disciplined when I see that money going up. I just want to add.
Yeah.
I have a discipline for that.
Right. I love that. Last one, sneakers versus heels. I think I know this one.
I'm a heels girl.
Yeah, I know this one. Yes.
I am.
So to end the show, we have what is called positive outcomes, where
Okay.
our listeners write into us and we give them advice. You ready? Mm-hmm. All right. So Carol Lee writes, how can I balance my role as a giver and continue supporting others while setting healthy boundaries to protect my own well-being and foster a more positive dynamic within my family? Ooh, so you are a giver and you're supporting, but you want to set boundaries. I've dealt with this where I'm constantly giving, and you realize that your giving isn't helping people learn the lesson.
Oh, it could be enablement.
It very much, and then turn into entitlement.
I don't think that people who are givers should ever stop giving, because I'm a giver.
Yeah,
I think you have to be mindful of who you're giving to.
that's it. Yes,
Because by default, we're going to give.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's just who we are and how we're wired to be.
Yes.
But you have to be mindful of who you're giving to.
Yes, right.
So I think the boundary more so is where I'm giving going to bear fruit.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And if it is not, then I'm not giving.
Right. Right. Got it. Thank you so much.
Oh,
That
no,
was
thank
good.
you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
This is fascinating. Yes. Thank you for sharing everything with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yes.
I could be here all day.
No, same. I'm glad we did this because we have not gotten to talk. We've seen each other in
No.
passing so many times and never got to really sit down. This was amazing.
Divine timing.
Yes, yes. And we cannot wait for that book.
Oh, thank
yes,
you.
super excited
Thank
about
you.
it. Absolutely.
I'm excited too.
You're welcome. Thank you. Today I'm wearing a chocolate brown ribbed turtleneck sleeveless dress by Helsa. My shoes are by Ferragamo. My signature jewelry, my Bottega earrings. I absolutely love this look. I love a little comfy vibe. My goodness, I absolutely enjoyed my conversation with Arian Simone. There were so many gems. I mean, she touched on financial literacy, she touched on entrepreneurship, she touched on adversity in her journey and how she kept pushing. And I think my biggest takeaway from Arian would be to honestly look more into my heritage and my lineage, to see where I'm from. Her talking about Africa and her being a queen in Africa was so inspiring, and it inspired me to really look deeper into my ancestry. For all, they say, you don't know where you're going until you know where you come from. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Keep It Positive, Sweetie. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who could use some positive energy. Also, don't forget to write into our Positive Outcomes listener letter. You can write in at keepitpositivesweetie@gmail.com. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Love Crystal Renee, and you can follow our show and keep up with everything at Keep It Positive, Sweetie. And remember, guys, no matter what life throws at you, stay focused, stay confident, and as always, keep it positive, sweeties. I'll see you guys next time.